Maybe you've mastered the technical details of React and are wondering where to go next, or maybe you're just looking to start thinking about your applications at a higher level. Whatever the case, learning the basics of software architecture may well be the next step in your software development career. A knowledge of software architecture enables you to not only make your applications work, it also allows you to keep your applications maintainable and performant for the foreseeable future, as well as make sure they fulfill all the necessary requirements and constraints. To get the most out of this course, there are a few things that it would be helpful for you to know. The first skill that you should have is a basic knowledge of web development with React. Now, please don't take this to mean that you have to be a React expert. You don't. But at the very least, it would be great for you to have experience with creating and managing React components, routing in React, and React hooks. If you don't have these skills yet, I highly recommend that you take my course on full stack development with React, where we see how each of these things works in the context of a full stack React application. Really, it would be helpful for you to have a basic knowledge of how full stack development works in general. It would be great if you already know the basic roles of the front end and back end, as well as how these pieces fit together and communicate with each other via network requests. If you have these things, okay, we're going to get started here by talking about what software architecture is in the first place. So in order to define what software architecture is, let's think about architecture as the word is normally used, which is applied to buildings. When we talk about the architecture of a building, we're generally referring to the overall structure and large-scale design of that building, whereas interior design would be more of the details inside the building. So in a similar way, when we talk about software architecture, we're talking about studying the larger structure and organization as well as patterns of our development project. And we're particularly concerned with these things with regards to how they impact developer productivity over time. Now, this last part is where software architecture and regular architecture diverge a little bit. I'll get to that in just a second. First, let's take a look at the goals of both architecture and software architecture. With architecture, the goal, in a very general sense, is to design a building that fits the constraints and required uses. So right here we have constraints on one hand, which are things that are challenging about the project, things like budgets and zoning restrictions, and we also have the required uses. That's what the people who are building this structure need it to do. Now, on the same token, in software architecture, our goals are pretty much the same. We want to design software that fits the constraints and required uses. And just like with regular architecture, the constraints are usually things like budget, and the required uses are what people are designing that software to do in the first place. So here's where we get to the differences between architecture and software architecture. With architecture, once we've built that building, once construction is completed, it's going to remain fairly static over time. Yes, we'll have to renovate it every once in a while, and there will be ongoing maintenance with the plumbing, the electricity, etc. But for the most part, we're not going to make any drastic changes to it. With software architecture, on the other hand, that thing that we design is going to be constantly changing throughout its lifetime. In other words, you're never going to get to that point where everybody's happy with it and no one wants to add any more features. Trust me, managers and other stakeholders are always going to want to add other features. So what this means is that we have to design our software in a way that it can be easily changed over time. So you might be wondering where React fits into this, right? I haven't even mentioned React yet. And that's because, in theory, software architecture is meant to be independent of any of the given technologies that are used, right? This allows us to design our programs without saying, okay, we're going to use MongoDB, or okay, we're going to use React, right? It keeps it more flexible in case you want to change your technologies down the road. However, since this really is more of a practical course, and I have very little interest in doing a theoretical course about this, what we're going to be doing is looking at a lot of concrete examples that involve React to demonstrate some of the larger architectural concerns that usually come up in React applications. A little more specifically, we're going to be covering 5 main things with React applications. We're going to start off by looking at server-side rendering. Some of you may be familiar with what this is, some of you may not. We'll talk about that shortly. The next thing we're going to talk about is state management. That is, how do we effectively manage the data that our application deals with? After that, we're going to discuss data loading. What is the proper relationship between our front end and back end, and how do they communicate most effectively, especially in the context of server-side rendering, which we'll talk about. Next up, we're going to talk about code splitting, which is how do we effectively deliver the code that we've written to our clients. And last but not least, we're going to talk about project organization. How do we organize our code in such a way that it remains easy for developers to work with? Well, those are the main topics we're going to be talking about here. Let's get started.